Now, I've always told you that my favorite cake is a red velvet cake, which is true. But lately, I have been tilting towards other types of cakes. So, guys, join me as I teach you how to make the white forest cake or the white forest gâteau. I don't know. I will teach you guys. Now, the white forest cake is something that is one of my favorite. Like, I love how it tastes. I love how it looks. The only downside to why I don't like this cake is because it cannot take a lot of weight. Like, it's just a very light and delicate cake. So you cannot layer it up the way you would layer like a chocolate cake and stuff. But the cake is delicious. So first things first, we're going to break our eggs in the pan or in our mixing bowl, add our sugar, and then we're going to whip as much air as we can into that batter. So we're going to whip it until it becomes really white and fluffy. Guys, look at what it's looking like after mixing it. Can you see the difference? Is almost filling the mixing pan now. You get to the point where it has completely whipped up. When you raise your whisk, it will form a soft peak. Soft peak meaning the batter will just drizzle down a little bit, but it will hold its shape. So that at that point, you know that it is done. Now we're going to be adding in our flour batch by batch, and then using your whisk. I like to use the whisk attachment that comes with the mixer to mix it in. So you mix it up, and you need to understand that this cake is so fragile. You cannot add all your flour at once, so you add it in 3 different batches. You add the first batch of flour, you mix the edges, make sure it mixes completely, and then add the second batch, third batch, and all of that, and make sure you mix it all, scrape the sides, make sure there are no flour at the bottom. At this point as well, you can add any extra flavor you want to put, color, whatever. This is the best point to add all of that, and then pour your cake into the pan and bake it in the oven, in a moderately hot oven. Then the next thing, because this cake is so dry, you need something extra. Now we're going to be making our sugar syrup. Sugar syrup is just simple, equal portion or equal quantity of water and sugar. So if you're using a cup of water, you need a cup of sugar. So that's going to help the cake to not be as dry as the cake is. So get your cake out after it's finished baking. I trimmed the top of the cake. My kids were stressing me out at this point, so I was just giving it to them. So pardon me. I scrape the top, scrape the bottom, and not scrape. I trim off the top and the bottom just to make sure that my cake is straight, and then divide it into two equal parts, because I like my cakes to be 2 equal parts. I scrape the bottom as well because I don't want any burnt sides. I feel like my favorite thing about this cake is how soft and airy and delicious it is. So after you've gotten to this point, now we're going to soak it with our syrup. So I don't have like a pouring can, so I usually just use my brush and then tap the cake with it. If you have any extra flavoring you like to add, this is the best time. So you just pour your flavoring into the water and then tap it into your cake. As you can see, the cake is getting moist. You don't want to put too much, because if you put too much, guys, your cake is going to be so soft and soggy. Yeah, and you don't want that. So after filling, now, after layering our cake and adding our sugar syrup, just to make sure that the cake layers are not dry, you don't want a dry cake layer, I'm going to be making my whipped cream. Now, there's a full detailed recipe on how to make this whipped cream, but just in case you don't want to watch it, let me just teach you. To make your whipped cream stable, you can either use cold water or you can use warm or lukewarm water. If you're going to be placing your cake in the fridge, I would advise you to use cold water. So put your cold water or your cold milk, measure it in the mixing bowl, add your powdered whipped cream, and then mix. If you're using cold water, it has to be very cold, because I feel like the coldness of the water helps the whipped cream to form as fast as possible. So put it in the mixer, whip it up, and then when you get your whipped cream, put it in the fridge immediately after, just to avoid it falling. So after you've gotten your stable whipped cream, put it in the fridge or freezer just to make sure that it's cold. And then start layering your cake. Now, because it is a white forest cake, to do your white forest, after putting your layer of sugar syrup on your cake, we're going to then put a layer of whipped cream on the white forest cake. And then I'm going to be putting jam. So I made fresh jam with black currant that I got from Joss. Guys, the taste was delicious. If you want me to do a video of how I make fillings and stuff like that, let me know in the comment section below. Now, because I had put a layer of sugar syrup on the top of that cake, that's why I flipped it over, so that I can put another layer of syrup at the bottom, which is the top of the cake. Do you understand? You want everywhere to have as much syrup as possible without over syruping the cake. And then I'll cut off the edges at this point, put it back in the fridge and let it chill for a bit. If I wanted really clean edges, I would let it freeze up. But guys, it wasn't something that like I was going to serve to guests. It was something that I was going to eat at home, so I didn't really have time to be waiting. Like, I just wanted to eat this cake. So if I wanted neater edges, I would advise you to leave it in your fridge overnight until it is chilled. But this cake, like I said, was going to be eaten at home with guests and friends and family. I decided to cut up the layers and then just get my really tiny square boxes, cut it up in boxes, and then I was just going to share it with my kids. Put some white chocolate on top of the cake, and that's all, guys. So you can enjoy this cake with ice cream. You can serve it to your guests. If you don't have a square pan like this, you can make it in a round pan and just layer it up. Put some cherries, strawberries, whatever you want to use to layer it and make it look beautiful, and enjoy it with your friends and family. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye.